Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the Truth Table, Season 3, Episode 3, Part 2, Sammy's Backpacks. Now, this is a really tough story of a horrible situation. Now, I know I've said this before. I've lost 3 children because of the medical industry, and it's very difficult to talk about this, but it's also very important to show everyone what the court system is doing, what the lawyers are doing, so we understand what situation we're dealing with in Canada. Um, this story has so many twists, and Montana is the one responsible for the death of 19-year-old Sammy Jr. And even the Crown says that Montana has selective memory, which it seems to be obvious to me. And he says Montana Lewis didn't mean to kill his sister's boyfriend and shouldn't be found guilty of first-degree murder. That's what his lawyer says. But Sammy died after he was fatally stabbed in the driveway of Lewis' home on Muriel Drive on November 12th, 2020, right before the COVID nightmare started. So things weren't bad enough for Sam and his wife. So an argument between Lewis and his sister, Samaya, earlier that day at the East End home led to the fatal stabbing in the late afternoon. Lewis was suspicious Graham was abusing his sister. Now, they were twins. The confrontation between two men outside the residence happened very fast, with Lewis stabbing Graham in the abdomen by reflex. Defense counsel David Bayless told Superior Court Judge Alexander Kirk, Lewis got a knife from his bedroom to scare Sammy away. Former girlfriend of Lewis said that. Thought nothing of her former beau sending her message saying, Graham's dead. So the fact that he sent that message before it happened shows intent, that what he intended to do. There's no doubt about it. That it wasn't his other excuse. I mean, it basically puts it right there, his intent. Shortly before the stabbing happened, the intent can't be drawn from this one line. Lewis mentioned he planned to fight, not kill Graham. In messages he sent friends the same afternoon, he added Graham's unfortunately struck when he was stabbed, leading to heavy blood loss. So selective memory, and the hardest part of doing this story is I know what it's like to lose children from the safe and effective, but this is a 19-year-old. I can't even imagine. This is like 100 times worse because of all the bonding. I love you, Dad. I love you, Mom. Like all these things make it so much worse because of the bond and relationship develops through the years. I'm going to bring Sam onto the show right after this.
handle the truth.
And that's why we're here. We're here to talk about the truth. And there's no doubt about it to me. I like to research every story that I cover. And I'm so grateful to you, Sammy, for joining me on the Truth Table and sharing this terrible, devastating story. So thank you for coming again for part two so we can cover everything that may have been missed in the first show. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for being here.
I'm trying to keep my composure, but this is such a hard story. I mean, I feel so horrible. And being an empath, I'm like feeling your pain, and it's like devastating. It doesn't even matter if it's 10 years ago.
Yeah,
It
it's
it doesn't
very,
stop. It doesn't heal. Especially knowing that they've downgraded this to manslaughter, which is obscene to me.
yeah,
Really
it is
obscene.
absolutely. The evidence there is overwhelming on first degree, hands down. We've been through this for 5.5 years, and you could maybe see a justification for second degree, maybe, and I said big maybe on that, but it's definitely first degree murder. It was planned. It was intended. There was two stabbings, two stabs. They'll always say there's one, but there's two crucial ones, two big stab marks. The one, the first or the second, we don't know which order it came in, but the one that did not take my son's life was one that was in the by the tricep muscle there and went right to the bone. But he put his hand up to block the stab, so not that any of the defense or the Crown or the judge even realized that my son was blocking the knife from his neck. That was never brought up in court or anything like that. That would have been another fatal injury to his neck, right? And then he stabbed him right into the abdomen area right there, and he killed him immediately on that. So it's a lot of horrifying details that we're going to walk through and go through. I'm not sure how many podcasts we're going to do because there's a lot of different branches off of this as we go years and the text messages and some of the Facebook posts and there's just overwhelming information that I do have now about the system, about the Crowns, the defense, and the lawyers. I see it quite clear now. Being a Canadian man, proud Canadian man, working for the OLG and Roygram Trucking, our family company, my whole life. And then the results of this is that the system fails you at the end of the day. So
Yeah, but we're not going to be silent anymore. I mean, that's what this is about.
Yeah.
They're not going to get away with this.
Yeah, there's no reason to be silent anymore on anything. This is a huge example of, and a sad example of, but there's much of this going around our world today and has been going on for a very long time. And it's okay for the people to stand up and question that and say, I don't think that's right.
Yeah, it isn't right. And you can't use mental illness as a problem. I think everyone has a form of mental illness. The whole world has been abused.
Sure,
I've seen it over the 5 years. You can't use that as an excuse. If it was an immigrant, he would have been on bond out in the street.
Right.
Already. So we're being betrayed at the highest levels as far as I'm concerned. And how we get out of that. But we can't let anything slip like this. This is premeditated.
Let's just keep talking. We just keep on
not
talking.
An accident. Yep. If we have to. That's why I'm here,
Yep, absolutely. And that's what our Creator is giving you that ability to do, is to show people this truth. And that's your role right now. Indeed. And my role is here with you right now.
Yep. And I can relate to being an empath is a curse to me because I really feel people's pain, and I'm guessing it might be a superpower, but it's a bad superpower. The Creator But I think that's the only way I can do this show is because it's not about clicks, and this show has nothing to do with fame and
Yeah,
fortune or anything like that. It's just a platform to expose things and to be honest,
be
you know.
honest. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. And I don't like labels and stuff because our society is created by labels. But
right.
if you have to root me into something like that, I'm definitely an empath. I realized that through the last 5 years of my life, after I lost my son, I realized that's who I am, and I never knew who I was really. Before that, you feel weird your whole life, and you feel different, and you can't say too much because you'll be bugged or teased or
Yeah,
and you know what I mean. Some people, because you're a little more emotional, but it's just because you realize when you feel for people more, um, that's part of you, and it's hard. It's difficult. You don't even understand it at a young age. Your parents don't even understand it. But when you start to understand it, you lost 3 children. I lost a child.
yep.
You get some hardships, and then it just wakes everybody up a little bit more. And then they have to go down these paths to see who they really are in life and what they're here for.
Yeah, well, I couldn't imagine hearing, I love you, Daddy. I just couldn't imagine that after that point, survive, like, it would just be too much for me. So I think the
Yeah,
creator is protecting me, maybe, um,
yeah,
because I don't know if I would be strong enough. But, something beautiful has come from this,
yeah,
this horrible thing is Sammy's backpack that just shows who you are as a human being and really a true Canadian from my perspective. I think
yeah,
Canadians are beautiful people that are being hoodwinked at the
yeah,
highest levels
yeah.
and in the
Oh yeah,
courtrooms. I mean, these criminals are appointing the judges
yeah.
and
There,
allowing corporations to create these laws that infringe on us and allow poisons into them. But
absolutely,
we will,
absolutely.
but we won't be silent. I would rather die on a hill of truth instead
Yeah,
of on my knees.
always over and over and over again. That would repeat, right?
Yeah,
In any lifetime, right? But there's a balance too, right? There's a balance, right?
there is.
We got to stand
Yeah.
up, though. We got to stand up. We got to continue what this life is. And we have to stand up to it. And hopefully we're looking for truth, but we're looking for to be a more peaceful, happier life, our
Hmm.
natural life we should be living, not under control, not under poverty. You know what I mean? Not wondering how much the gas is going to go up or the meat's going to go up. Like, we shouldn't be there. We are
Hmm.
smart enough beings that we should never even have reached this point in our evolution, and it's because the people aren't doing anything anymore. They're just used to for the system to tell them what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. And
Hmm.
people just aren't realizing that. And I'm not. I used to be something like that. I always used to be weight, but now I'm wide open now, and
And
you got.
the creation was made abundant. Like every tomato has a whole bunch of seeds in it, and every single one of those seeds is another tomato plant with multiple more tomatoes that can be grown from it. So it's
Yes,
all the design is all made to be abundant, not
yes,
to be hunger and homeless. These are all things by design, and now we have social engineering with gender pronouns, and so
yeah,
they're going after the children at this point, and it's not
yeah,
going unnoticed. We're not blind, we're not brainwashed, not
yeah,
everyone.
yeah.
So,
You're right. You're
and
right.
yeah,
So, Paul, going back to where we left off, and apologize that I had to leave in
that's
an
okay.
emergency. Everything was okay. Everything was good. It was just more on a financial company thing, I guess you want to call it, that I had to attend to. And
Yeah, that's
anyways, kind of leave off on that part, I guess, right? If you're ready to go with that.
or you could go right from the beginning and
Yeah.
go flow right through it. That way, anyone who missed the first part can get
Well,
everything. It's up to you, though.
yes, I will kind of reiterate what we went through a little bit quicker. I'll go a little quicker this time because there's a lot of other stuff to get into. But my son, Sammy Graham Jr., was murdered on November 12th, 2020, at 4:30 in the afternoon. Just a regular day, and he was just finished off his college day that day, and he was going over to his girlfriend's house, which he does every single day. And that's when our forever and impacted our entire family, our nieces, our nephews, my parents, our friends. We completely changed as people. Going through times like this, you don't understand what you have to do to get by the days, and it's incredible what you have to go through, and the journey in the past that you have to go through to find truth and find something to grab onto. Our creation, our creator, you look up to, and you see the truth in that. And so we're going to go all the way up to, I think we got to the point where I was talking about me walking in my house after we found out Sammy was murdered, after we went to the hospital and seen him there. We came home. We slept in his bed for a couple months. We didn't, every night we did. Me and my wife are super, super tight. We're such a good couple. We've met each other. We've been together for 30 years. And we couldn't help each other. It was the first time in our life that we couldn't help each other, you know? And we're lost in our minds. We're lost in our minds and lost to what happened. And like I said, it's that word devastation keeps coming up, but it's like multiply that by 100, 1,000, 1,000,000. It's
absolutely.
Not like even I lost my limb. Devastation to lose a limb, but this is not like
easier to lose a leg.
Yeah. So
I hear you.
We come back and we live that. We're living this day to day or moment to moment time. I figure it was moment to moment for a long time, actually, not day to day, because your mind just kind of, if you feel and look back at what we went through, it's just kind of not numbed a lot of times because the pain is so overwhelming, and you can see why people do take their lives and end their lives. You understand that now clearer because it's so hard, especially if you never had a firm foundation before. These people don't even have a chance to continue their life. And we're lucky that we have a loving and caring family, and me and my wife are such a beautiful couple, and we found each other. Maybe that was a reason for that. I don't know. But so the days forward, I guess. It's a lot of story. I don't know when I should tell this part of it, but I've written a lot of documentation. I've written a few books now, and they haven't been out. I haven't published anything yet. It has all the details in there. It's like a lot more of the details and how I'm going to be talking about the details. So I hope people see the story and then just maybe look out for something that's going to come out. I can't tell you when, but I do have a rough draft of both of them, of 2 books, because it's so much information to get out there. But like Paul, even like right now, like help me out. What do you think people want to hear from this? What do you want to hear from this? Like the 5.5 years we went through this, and we went through everything, every single thing we went through. If it's, you know what I mean? It gets better, you think, in your mind, right? Trust that system a little bit, see where it goes. And then every single time that trust was broken, every single way, us being shut down, us being quieted by the system, you know what I mean? It's almost, and it is not even almost, it feels like you are that criminal and they're trying to get the criminal off. That's what it feels like. You've been demonized. Your son means nothing to the system anymore because he's gone.
Yeah.
That's how our system is. I never knew that. I didn't know if somebody's dead, they have no rights still. Their family has no rights still on their behalf. No. Where did I sign up for that? Because I never did sign up for that. I did not vote our system in for that. I voted our system in to stand up for what is right and us to have rights. I never looked into laws like that. I thought I never had to. I thought I never had to be here today. I didn't think I could have to fight the Crown, the defense, and the judges. I did not think I could have to do that ever.
Just for what's right.
Yes,
I mean, no matter what they do, they can't undo what happened. They can't
never,
fix this.
never.
But they have to show that they have credibility and integrity.
Absolutely.
And, and especially with immigrants.
Yeah.
But, and they can't use excuses like I had a hangnail that day.
Mhm.
No. There's intent there. There's evidence of intent. He planned it before he even left the house,
Yeah.
and he told his girlfriend that. There's evidence of that. So
Yes.
it's first degree, hands down. No ifs, ands, or buts. Let him rest in peace. Give justice for his parents. Show the world that the court can show integrity.
Yes.
If not, then it's going to be even more devastating
It
that we
will.
don't have a justice system anymore.
Our murder rates are going up. Our crime is going up, and they want to point that back to the people of the system, right?
Hmm.
There's accountability everywhere in every area, but they're the ones that led that. They're the ones that are creating that. Letting a murderer go to a manslaughter, possibly get out, is not a justice system. That is telling the next person that, oh, that's not bad. I could do the same thing. They
Yeah.
just gave an example of what you could do now after having overwhelming evidence of murder and how you could still get away from it. The first way they're going to do is just play it all out. Keep on dragging it out. Fire and hire lawyers. Keep on going. Keep on going. Keep on moving. Go right to the end of it until 5 years has gone by, and that system does not give a shit about my son anymore or our family, because we're just a number now, another ticket, another date in court, another week in court, right? The judges got these background deals that they'll never explain to you. They'll never talk to you about it
Nope.
because we're not privileged to them, even though we're the ones that put them in place at one point in time, right? They've
I pay them.
overreached what they're supposed to be. We pay them. That's our
Yeah.
tax dollar. We pay them their salary. I'm not saying we're a boss to them, but we pay them their salary. We created the system a long time ago, and it's gotten carried away. And nobody's doing anything about it. The judges aren't doing nothing about it. The Crown, the defense lawyers aren't doing anything. The police officers, they have a hard job, but they're not doing it. They're just doing their job, right? Nobody's changing it. Nobody wants to change it. Everybody thinks it's good and it's okay. It's not. And then you get through situations that we're going through. It's not. It's exposed. It just exposes that people still choose not to listen to me or listen to anybody that's going through this. It's lots of frustration, Paul. There's lots to talk about. I'm going to jump around. I'm going to jump around.
We have no time limit either. So we're gonna go through everything if we, as long as it takes.
People,
But
it's going to be.
he said he just got a knife to scare Sam away.
Yeah.
But that was his sister's girl. That was his sister's boyfriend. That was between those two. Their relationship has no part in his. He has no part in that.
So.
But he's making excuses up now.
So the court system failed us completely. All levels of court failed us. So I'm just gonna this is all going to be documented. It's easier to document something and have it put out in a book of some kind. People could go through all the details of every single thing. I got notes on everything. I got all their Facebook posts from everything, right? So I know the truth. The thing about going into this case, it wasn't like my son got murdered. I didn't know nothing, right? I knew something, right? I knew something, right? And then as the months went by, we knew more about it. We knew more and more. We knew all the details already before the police or Crowns or anybody could tell us anything. We knew information. It's not like the people, which is hard, that their son or a person gets murdered, but they don't know the reasons why at all. They don't know no details for years later. We knew the details immediately. Us and Samaya are extremely close. We got even closer after Sammy's death. She told us every single detail of what happened that night, right? But we can never tell that because we're shut down. We can't tell that. We can't say, here's our messages. Here's all of our messages. Look, So that was one thing we always had, is that strength, because when we call them all bullshit, it was real. It was the real truth. It's not a lie. It's not made up. It's not a story. It's from the person that was there. And it was the sister. You know, if anything, you think the sister would kind of help her brother at the time and not say certain things. She didn't. She loved my son very, very much at the time, more than her brother. And she told us everything that will happen in detail, over and over again, by Facebook posts, by coming to our house and talking to us about it. That's all I could do, Paul, at the beginning, was question every single thing.
Yeah.
What happened? What was this? What was that? Who did that? Who did that? Over and over in my head, over and over in my head. I still wake up, and today I still wake up going through all those details. When I wake up, I'm dreaming it into a wake state. That's what I wake up to, is all of that, all the time. That's a constant in my life.
Yeah.
My mind doesn't shut down.
It makes me angry. I mean, Montana's trying to claim he tried to help him after he stabbed him, positioning his body to limit the blood loss. It's like,
see, I could defuse all those incidents. Is that what they're saying? The truth of that, it completely obliterates any details like that in the story. Every single time, every single thing you go through, every single one, it removes it. It's fake. It's manipulated, and they put these words that are in there that were never in there to tweak it a bit. And it's a lie. It's just a lie. All of it's a lie. The judge is a liar.
There's no consistency with his story. Like he's telling something to one person, telling another thing to another person, trying to minimize his, his role, saying, "Oh, I tried to help him. I didn't mean to. I just wanted to fight."
Yeah. So he never said any of that.
Yeah.
Never said none of that. Never said anything. That's the defense lawyer putting words in.
That's his lawyer. Yeah.
That were never there, and there's overwhelming evidence of that didn't happen ever. That never happened, right? So
and he could barely recall. Like he has very little recollection.
You know what we're going to do right now, okay? Because there's so much of the court system. You know the court system's corrupt. We know it's corrupt right through and through. It doesn't matter. I know some people don't know, or some officers don't understand it, or there's some officers that believe in it still, right? There's a lot of officers that don't believe in it, but they just work. They just do their job. You know, at some point, they're all going to wake up to it. If they get retired and they realize the shit, they're in the shit day and day, so they see it. They see the court systems are shit. It's almost against the officers, too. I'm here to talk about everybody, to talk about the system, to make sure that there's a voice for the officers, because they have none. I got more of a voice than an officer. I can't be fired, right? I can't be fired. That officer can be, right? And they got kids that they got to take care of, and a wife they got to take care of, and education, and they got exactly where I was when I was a young man, right? But I could talk for everybody. I could talk for the officers, the ones that have been silenced, right? And I hope they see this message, and I hope they understand that that's what we're here for. In the protest, that's what the protesters want, is the officers to realize where we're at in this life. Yeah. And you're the same as me, Paul. Peaceful, kindness. That's how we get past this. This is where we sit down and have real conversations to change things, right? It's the government that's pushing us, right? They're pushing us. They're pushing us. They want something bad to happen, right? Yep. We're not going to let that happen. We'll go right to the end of it until we have to, maybe. And we don't want that. We don't want to get a bunch of people together. We do not want to do that. We don't want to stand up in an aggressive manner. We don't want to do that. There's ways around that. And they keep ignoring it and not wanting to deal with that part of it. So man is eventually going to get, at some point in time, it could be tomorrow, it could be 10 years down the road, whatever the time is. At some point, that's the direction we're going towards. So we're going to start.
I'm going to pull myself out and give you the full screen so you can just let her rip. Yeah. But, I try, my survival methods are like, I have a body, but I'm not a body. Yeah. And so to me, Sammy still lives as an eternal soul, and there will be a reuniting of each other as my children as well, and that gives me hope, because faith is like Wi-Fi. It's invisible, but it has the power to connect you to everyone.
Sure it does. Sure it does.
All right, brother.
Sure. Okay, so So like I said, my books are going to come out eventually, and it's going to have all the details of the court system and stuff. But I guess what my main story is my son. It's my son. It's about my son. It's always been about my son, Sammy, and our family. So I'm going to talk about that night, the details that we found out about that night. I'm going to go right into that. So there is, viewer discretion here. If anybody is watching this, I'm just recommending not to, if you can't handle some of the language or the information that I'll give, and I recommend you just don't watch or listen to this. But it is just the truth, and this is what has happened. So I do wish you would watch it, because it's just the truth. So my son, Sammy, was 19 years old, handsome man, handsome baby boy, beautiful. Me and Bridget had our first baby together. I got 2 other children that are my stepkids, and I love them as my own. Sammy was our only child together. We could never have any more children, and he was an amazing kid right from the get-go. There's people always say their kids are good, but no, this kid was just great, full of life, happy, had common sense built into him, I guess. Just lived his life, had fun. As he got older, he started, getting interested in girls. And it was his second girlfriend was Samaya, his second love, I should say. He had a first love with Taryn. They were good friends after that. And he fell in love with Samaya pretty much instantly. And they had a great relationship. They had ups and downs like everybody else. If you know how high school relationships goes, you know exactly how they are. That's all they had, is a typical relationship. I could bring up part when they said there were some physical altercations or whatever from my son to Samaya. They threw that out of court. My son, for one thing, was not there to defend himself. We had the information, but we can't talk, right? But they threw that all out of court. As Samaya herself said on the stand, like Sammy said some bad words to her, and then the judge had asked her, said, do you swear to Sammy too? And she says, yes, I have, many times. And she actually admitted in court that she put her hands on my son. She slapped him because she thought he was going to be coming at her. So it kind of backfired everything. You could see how it's lying. Even at this point, Samaya was kind of iffy on some of her statements. I'm going to go back to this part, though, because it's down the road a bit, what happened and why this happened and why that got brought up. That'll be a little bit further on. But I just wanted to touch base with that part of it. My son was kind. He's just like me. Why I know my son's so good? Because he's like me. He's a copy of me. And I raised him. And people say, oh, sometimes you don't know your children, but they don't know who the Grahams are. That's the funny thing, is that they don't know who our family is. And what we talk about, how open we are to our children through our whole entire life. It's all about truth, and it's all about just, allowing them to grow and figure things out. We don't let them not do anything, ever. And so Sammy and Samaya had a pretty good relationship. It got rocky at times there. They broke up, and they got back together. There's a bad moment there. Samaya tried to take her life. They don't talk about that in court. She told me on Facebook, I got that. She told me to my face that happened. Sammy told me at the time when that happened. It was 6 months into the relationship. And Samaya had tried to take her life because of her brother, Montana. To me, that is crucial evidence of a case this big. This goes back that far, right? But we can't bring any information from our son or our life back that far, but they could bring up stuff that they make up. So we know that Samaya tried to kill herself because of her brother, Montana, whatever he was doing to her. We don't know those details. Anyways, Sammy was there for her. He stayed beside her. He was in the hospital with her. Her mother was in the hospital there, not Montana, Sammy and her mom. And we got past that part. Sammy stayed with her, and the relationship got better, and it matured. Like even Samaya said, the relationship matured. And I understand those exact words because I went through the same stuff. And, later on they had plans. They wanted to get married. They wanted to have kids. They wanted to go to Windsor and possibly live with their grandmother, Samai's grandmother there, start a little bit of a life there. She wanted to finish some university there of being a nurse. And Sammy wanted to be the social worker with Indigenous specialization. And they had plans. And that last year of their relationship was when they started planning for future events, like real things, right? So we're going to go right to that relationship. And Sammy always told me about Montana. From day one, he hated him. You think it's just a little, a brother thing, right? But as the relationship goes on, he still hated Sammy. And I said, why does he hate you so much? And he says, I have no idea why. That's his answer. He doesn't know why. I don't know why he hates me. I have no idea why he hates me. So anyways, as that relationship went on, actually Sam and eventually him and Montana started hanging out a little bit. And that was be the last year-ish, I guess, before my son was murdered. And Sammy brought him out to our camp. They went for walks. You know what I mean? He had his girlfriend, and Samaya was there. So they're kind of doing a little bit of a relationship thing, right? Starting to get past some things, which was good, right? And, so we go to that part. So I guess Montana breaks up with his girlfriend, or she breaks up with him, whatever. He says he has had so much heartache and stuff like that, but he hooks up with another girl immediately that we know. And she was actually one of the witnesses too. Beautiful girl. And so he tries to say that, stress from breaking up and stuff with his court, nothing to do with that. It was just high school love. You break up, guys know it, I'm sure you feel like we're in, impasse, so we feel a little more. But still, if a girl came along, man, that's your best medicine, right? Hook up with somebody else, get past it. That's just normal stuff. That's no confusion there. Anyways, so it comes to October. Sammy goes to his hairdresser, our family hairdresser. He goes there and he starts talking about, because I didn't hear anything that it was getting bad with Montana again, just that they're hanging out in the summer. But he tells our hairdresser that things are getting bad. Like, we always talk to our hairdresser in our conversations, so she knows our family. And Sammy told her that things were getting rocky again with Samaya and the brother and Sam. Things were getting bad again. He was getting really mad and mean to Samaya. And our hairdresser just, loves Sammy so much. She loves us all. And, she did the right thing at the time. And she said to him, just let the siblings take care of each other. Let them figure it out. Obviously Lisa not knowing a lot of the details about background stuff, what's happening, right? And Sammy's in love with this woman, and she's in love with him. And when two people are in love with each other, that you would defend them in any way. That you would stick up for them. You do what you have to do. It doesn't matter who it's against. And so she just said, Sam, just let them handle it. Sammy's just like me. There's no fucking way you're going to let the siblings handle anything, especially if you have a brother that's disrespecting a sister in a not so cool way or nice way, or we don't know if there's physical or not. We have no idea about that part. Anyways, so Sammy talks to her. She lets him go, finishes the haircut, and she just said, and this was at the end of October. So he lets him go, and she runs out the door. She goes, remember what I said, just let them handle it. So now we're jumping back to November 12th, 2020. So that's a month later, we'll say a month later. It's a couple weeks anyways. Actually, Matt Wheaton's son, Mike Wheaton's son had passed away, and Isabel, 3 weeks prior to Sammy. And that was Matthew Wheaton, and he was a very nice man, a nice boy, and he died in a tragic car accident. And we couldn't believe when that happened, because they are amazing people. And we really felt for them. I didn't know what to say to them. I reached out to them to just tell us we love them, and didn't know what to say, because they're such a good, strong family, and you're just so tight. And I know all the boys, the brothers and stuff. I know them all. Anyways, 3 weeks later, this happens to our family. But this time it's like a murder, something you'd never dream of ever in your life, just because who you are as a family, who your whole entire family is. You'd think that this can't happen. And people always say, things could happen to anybody, but no, not in this kind of life, not with this kind of family, when we're not around any of that. We're never around that stuff. We don't deal with that stuff. We ignore that stuff. We just stick to ourselves mostly and just help people, love people. We care for people. And our son was murdered that night. And like in part one, I already went through what happened on that night when we got notified by that. So I'm not going to go through those details again, but you could listen to part one. Yeah, there's a lot of details missing. They'll be in the books though. And I'm not trying to promote anything. I'm not trying to promote my book. Read it, don't read it. It's a story that's got to be told too. If there's any money to be made there, it's going to Sammy's Backpacks. Okay, put it that way, to help kids. But so the one part I did miss out on telling you about that when we first, just before we found out, I was driving home from the gym. I was at work at OLG, and I used to work out every day after work. And I went to the gym that day, and just at the end of my workout, I started feeling not too great, and I left right away. And I was driving down, and I felt sick, and to my stomach, I just don't felt right. And I come onto Trunk Road, and I see an ambulance coming towards me. This is down in my area of where my house is. Trunk Road's just off of my road, and I see this ambulance. I pull over for the ambulance. Ambulance goes by. I get home, tell my wife I'm not feeling good, go lay down, wake up to her screaming. We go up to the hospital, As we left the hospital, coming back down to the same path that I was coming home with from the gym, I realized in that moment that was my son that was in the ambulance. And I don't know what that connection was, but, isn't that weird that I would feel sick in that moment while my son's getting stabbed or dying? And I felt that.
Yeah, the spiritual connection.
Yeah.
That's what I would think.
That's why I was sick all of a sudden. There's something there. There's something there that's invisible, right, Paul? It's invisible, but it's there, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And so that's the part I just wanted to tell you about, because I always thought that was something crazy. And so anyways, we're back to November the 12th and the details about November the 12th. So Samaya is the main witness. There's 3 people there: my son, Samaya, and Montana. That's it. There's nobody else there. There's a neighbor too that heard some stuff. I'll get into that later. But there's just them 3. And the stories are different a bit between Montana's and Samaya's. Montana never spoke until the last court proceedings. So just like whatever, in October, whatever it was, or November, I don't even know the dates. Anyways, the last court date, that the main court date, that was for a week or week and a half. So he didn't talk until that point. All planned, right? I get it. I see everything. And so that's the first time you hear his story. It's quite different than Samaya's story. Samaya's story was pretty consistent. So what had happened in Samaya's eyes, and the information I got from Samaya, and all the information that I received over the years, is that Samaya and her brother were arguing about Sammy and Samaya were going to go to the store, and Samaya wanted to know if you wanted vape juice for your vape pen, if you wanted vape juice, and Montana was playing a video game. And while Samaya was, talking to him or whatever she was saying to him about, you want some vape juice, we're going to the store, interrupted him, and I guess the character in his game had died. So he got upset with her and still started calling her all kinds of names. Now, this behavior from Montana is not this one moment, right? They don't show that in court. It's not this one time. Montana has been harsh on her sister for some times before Sam met her. You know, this isn't something that just come up, right? My son just intervened at some point in their lives and became part of her relationship.
Yep.
And anyways, so this is, and then Sammy's seen it through these years too, how he is to his sister. Sammy used to pick her up 2, 3 in the morning. 2, 3 in the morning. She'd call him, pick him up, pick her up, all the time from her house. That was a constant. They never left each other's side. If she wasn't here, Sammy was over there with her. They never left each other's side at all, right? And I think at one point somebody said that Sammy was clingy to Samaya at one point in the courts, and we started laughing about that, clingy, because what we know about Samaya, how much she loved Sammy and how much she enjoyed him being there. And she was the light for him to get out of whatever she was involved with or whatever her family was. He was that light. He was that light, right? And there's so much there, how much love they had for each other. We got so many pictures they drew, letters, notes. I brought this box here just to show you guys. Nobody knows about this box. The only person that knows about this box is Sammy and Samaya. That's it. And maybe I'll read some later on. These are all notes from Samaya to my son. I'll read one of them. I love you always. I love you. You're always there when I need a shoulder to cry on. These messages there's like, I don't know, 100 there. And these messages are all like that. Thanks for being there for me. You are my light. You're my sunshine in this world. So that will come out at one time because I want people to hear how Samaya thought about my son and how they try to depict her to be that relationship to be something completely different than the lies that they tried to tell about my boy. And so we're at. Sorry, sometimes my mind just got to reset a bit here. I just got to see where I was at. So Samaya, so they get in this argument, they start fighting. Sammy's done with this shit. He just even said it in October to her hairdresser. He's getting mean to her again. So that's 3 weeks prior to that, right? So things have been ramping up for a little while there again, right? And Sammy's just done with it, right? They're in a relationship. That's his sweetheart. That's his wife to be, brother, mother, father. You don't disrespect her anymore. That's it. He's being the man that he is meant to be, like all of us are, right? Protect. And he stood up and he went to the entrance of Montana's room and whatever. He told him, shut the fuck up or whatever, or smarten up, or don't say that to her, right? And probably swore at him too, right? And Montana got up, started swearing at Sam. They started to argue. No physical touching, no nothing. Samaya was right there. And as they went down the stairs, more Samaya went down their stairs because they were on a second floor. Samaya went down the stairs. They kind of went down the stairs a little bit more, and Sammy was on, like, kind of coming down the stairs, and he was talking up to Montana. And they basically had that argument, and they started leaving. And Montana had thrown his card, his Visa card or his debit card, down to Samaya and said, get my fucking vapor here. Like, just flinged it to her. And she just left it. She didn't pick it up or nothing. So Sammy and Samaya leave at that point. They're gone out of the house. Nothing more. They just had an argument. And it was Samaya and Montana's argument. Sammy was just trying to protect, right? Protect his wife, protect his girlfriend. Then they leave. Montana is texting Samaya like crazy. Back and forth texts. And then he starts asking, when are you coming back? What time? When are you going to be here? And they have, Samaya and Sammy have Montana and Samaya's dog in the car with them too. So my son goes up to the vape store, and I think they say it's a 30-minute there and back drive. So 15, 20 minutes there, 15, 20 minutes back. And we actually have video of the last moments of my son, and video was in the vape store that we've seen. And so he's messaging his sister when are you going to be back? Sammy's speaking to Samaya, telling Samaya, saying, listen, tell him I'll fucking come back there. If he's going to man up, we're going to sit down and talk about this. Else, fuck off. That's what my son said to him. Good language to me, and considering the situation, that's exactly what I would do. Either you man up, we'll sit down, we'll talk about this.
Yeah.
Right. And so meantime, while he's doing that with Samaya, he's calling all of his buddies, he's calling his friends, telling them today's the day. Sammy's dead. These are the terms that he uses. Calls his mom, right? Which they didn't take that text, that message into court. They dropped it. It was a deal that they made, the Crown made with them of something at some point. I have no idea what. But they dropped the message that was right to his mom, saying words similar to that. Like, Sam pushed me. Today is the day. Those words got thrown out of court. Meanwhile, it's all linked to a first-degree murder, stating these words.
Yep.
And it's funny because they say, well, you know how you say that. Everybody says it. Oh, I'm going to kill him, or I'd kill him if I seen him again. Stuff like that. But the big thing is that they don't follow through and kill somebody. They don't murder him after they say those words. They don't do that, right? They don't murder somebody when they're saying these words. And it wasn't one time. He called another buddy and said the same kind of thing in a different format, in a different way.
Yeah. But how he reacted to a video game, it shows you about his character and what he's willing to fight over, and his rage levels and all. Everything is right there for me anyway.
But like I said,
I'm a critical thinker.
Right. Like I said, though, it's not a moment, though, right? It's not one moment built up to that. It's a lot of events that built up to that moment, right? It was thought about. It was in his mind. Like, you can't say it was, because you're not his mind. You don't know.
Right.
But if you know the history and everything, you see that this kid was heading there. You see that there was that was going to happen at one point. This triggered that to happen. This triggered it. And then there was evidence that he intended to murder my son, right? There's overwhelming evidence. And so, so he tells these things to his friends. He's calling them all over the place. One person he calls, his friend, his name is Dustin, very nice man. He calls him, it's a mutual friend of theirs. Sammy grew up and played with them always too. And he asked him if he could fight Sam. So that was the only person he asked to fight. But we would understand that, because if he said anything about, I'm going to kill him, or today's his day to Dustin would step in, right? Dustin would say, what the fuck are you talking about? You know what I mean? Like, so that's why he said to Dustin, he goes, I'm going to fight Sam. And he goes, why are you asking for my permission? Like, it's more than that, right? Why are you asking my permission for you to fight him? Like, that didn't even make sense, right?
And so people don't usually bring guns or knives to fights unless they cheat.
Yeah.
And they plan to win.
Yes. Yeah. But they plan to win. This is a key word, is plan to win. Yeah. So this happens. All this evidence is getting brought up with the messages and stuff. We didn't know about that until court, right? Till the pretrial anyways. And so Sammy's on his way back with Samaya, and Montana's saying, when he's coming back, bring my dog back. Meanwhile, it's Samaya's dog too, but he's like, bring my dog back. So he wants them to come back to the house, right? So he's really for Samaya and Sammy's plan. By the sounds of the idea, they were going to possibly go to our house, possibly go there, but he was demanding to bring his dog back to that house. So he had a way to draw them back, right? Waiting for them to come back, because he was figuring out what he was going to do next. He figured out what he was going to do next. Today's his day was a comment that he said a couple times. So today's his day of what? Like, you guys never fought before. You never did anything before. Today's his day on what? As
it
he
also
said,
shows. It also shows
right?
that he's had this in his mind for a while.
Yeah, this isn't something that people
It's
just
not
do.
new.
This isn't like I'm getting the shit beat out of me and I grab my knife out of my pocket for my life and stab somebody. This isn't that. This isn't like, a knife popped out of somewhere and I'm getting the shit beat out of me. I'm going to use it to stab somebody. It isn't that. It's not that at all.
And it's
intent.
He has no respect for. He has no respect for his sister's choice,
No, not at all.
who she wants to be with.
Not at all. Not at,
So there's a lot of possession
there's
involved
a lot
there
of possession there. 100%. There's
and abuse.
that's
Yep.
kind of another weird place to
Yep.
go.
Twins.
But I'll tell you that probably later. But so yeah, so they're coming back now, and he's ready to go. Right? He's talked to his buddies. He's ready. He's primed. You know, he's even telling them he's doing cocaine. You know, but like I'm gonna have to tell you what Montana's story was after. You know, maybe we could do that on the next date or whatever. But I'm just telling you Samaya's story. Okay, this is once again Samaya's story and what we know what Samaya told us. So Montana's a little different, and I don't want to jump all around. So I'm just telling Samaya's story. So they come back to the house, and they get out of the car. Samaya's words to me is that he was still enraged. That's what she told me. He was still enraged when we got back, and that was the exact words. What does that mean, enraged? That means super mad. You know, not calm. So Sammy and Samaya got out of the car, and they come into the kitchen side, the side door of the house, not the front, the side. The kitchen's right there. They come into the side door. I think Samaya said she was looking in the fridge or something. But Montana runs right downstairs right away. He starts caulking off to Sammy, and he said, "You owe me an apology." Sammy owes Montana an apology, and Sammy said, "I'm not going to give you an apology for standing up for your sister." And then the fight started immediately. So, you know, Samaya always says, "I don't know who threw the first punch," but she always told us Montana started everything. Everything was his fault. He did everything. It was all on him all the time. She always told us that. That never changed, that story. So we're going to make a big assumption that Montana started it, right? Grabbed them, whatever. And then my son grabbed them back right away. So they're struggling. They're fighting on the ground. Sammy's kind of backing up Montana, whatever. Samaya says Sammy got the better of him, whatever that means. I don't know. It was a little small scuffle that probably took a whole 30 seconds, right? This isn't long. None of this is long. So we just know that Montana was ready to come downstairs to confront Sam, right? We know that. So he pushes him back to the stairs, kind of, we'll say that. Montana's on the ground. Sammy comes off him. Not pulled off him, nobody pushed him off him. Sammy just stood back, right? He stood back from him. Montana sat on the stair, the bottom stair, for 2 seconds. These are very, very quick moments. The whole thing is. So he ends up bolting upstairs, right? Samaya's words, he runs upstairs, and Samaya and Sammy are there. Samaya's in front of Sammy, running out the door. Sammy's behind her, running out, right? Running out, not walking, not casually walking. They ran out. All this information, nobody emphasizes the whys. What's going on here, right? They run out the door, okay? So Samaya says she doesn't see Montana anymore, but she's running. This one little part here, because there's no evidence of anything or anybody can corroborate that, is that my son must have known something that Montana was doing, or Montana had said some words to him. That would be the only reason why he would run. He just basically beat him up, you could say. So why would he fucking run? He wouldn't run just to go home. So he runs out the door. So we're assuming words were said from Montana, or Sammy's seen Montana coming right back down the stairs. Up and down, right? This isn't like, hey, he went upstairs, looked around in his bedroom, found this knife, took it, and ran back down. This is up and down, right? We still don't know where the knife is. We don't know if the knife's in the bedroom. We don't know if the knife's in his pocket, right? We have no idea on that. There's a little side story to that Montana did say that he was outside that day cutting open boxes with his knife. So there's Montana stating that one part. So we still don't know. They never ever pushed to try to find where the knife really was, right? So did he run upstairs to grab the knife? Did he have the knife in his pocket? Did he take the knife and put it in his pocket when they were gone to the vape store and ready for this action? There's all those sequences, right? All those different events that could possibilities, right? But we do know that my son was running, not walking. We do know that. He was running for his life, right? So he knew something that was happening. Maybe Montana said, I'm going to kill you. Samaya says she doesn't remember any of the words on that point, what was said, if anything was said, she does not remember. We don't know that. But something was happening for my son to run because he wouldn't have ran. Runs out the side door. Montana runs to the side door too, right? We have evidence that he ran to the side door, right? With his knife open, okay? Sammy holding the fucking door shut. Montana's like, I don't know who was holding the door shut. Well, it sure wasn't your fucking sister because you would have opened it up pretty fucking easy, right? Somebody's 100 pounds, right? So Sammy's holding that door shut. We know that because Samaya corroborates that he was holding the door. So Montana was right on his ass. He didn't run out the front door. If he Montana could have just the front door from the stairs is right straight. So if he was just going to run outside to meet up with them, he would have just ran right out. But he was that close to Samaya. All the details are very important. He was that close to Sam and Samaya that he ran to the side door. It was that close. So that's why I'm saying Sammy heard something, or he's seen him coming right back at him to run out that side door, and Montana to follow with an open knife. So they went out there. He then immediately couldn't get out the door. He runs back around the front, and my son, you could kind of say he's still by the door, right? He's still by the side door. Montana runs right back out, passes Samaya, and then stabs him again. We don't know which stab mark was in a row, or which one was first, which one was second. They never tried to investigate that. Nobody tried to push to when, right? Nothing like that. So there was two distinct stabs, and I told you the one stab was in the arm, right up here. Samaya corroborated that he had a blocking motion on that side, went through his arm, right to the bone, hit the bone there. Nobody even, there's no lawyer for us, right? Any lawyer would have said, yeah, he blocked him from stabbing him in the neck, right? So that would have killed him. And he blocked him, so that didn't work. So Montana stabbed him again, right in the chest, right in the abdomen portion, right?
In the aorta?
Yes. So
yeah.
If somebody gets stabbed, what do you think is going to happen to that person immediately? They're going to start falling. That's it. They're done. He just fucking severed his artery 60% or 70%. Bleeding out immediately. Samaya said she never heard Sammy talk. That was it. He couldn't talk. All he could do is fall. But asshole Montana still stabbed him once, right? He grabs him, basically tackling him, right, to the ground. So they both fall. Like Samaya says, they both fall on the ground. Montana on top of him, right? And then Samaya says, I then see the knife, right? So he stabbed him once, stabbed him twice. They fell. The knife got jarred loose. Montana says he drops the knife. That's bullshit. There's nothing to indicate he dropped the knife. But we have Samaya stating that she's seen the knife after they fell. So the knife got hit away, or my son knocked it away somehow, And she grabs the knife immediately. She throws the knife. So she goes, I threw the knife so he wouldn't stab him again. That's her exact words. So stabbed twice, the knife fell out of her hand. She was scared. Grabbed the knife, threw it, right?
Yep.
So now, and then she goes back to him, grabs him off. This is the little part I'm going to kind of, grabs him off of my son, right? And Montana said, turn him over. I stabbed him. So he grabs Montana off of him. Somehow my son was already flipped over. If he flipped over himself, I'm not sure. We're not sure. But Samaya said her brother told him to flip him over, but Sam was already flipped over on his back. So she seen the blood right away. And then she called 911 right away. Montana walked away, right? So I'm going to pause on this scene for a second. Okay, so you got to visualize this. Anybody's watching, you got to visualize this. There's an off-duty officer across the street, not too far from the house. He hears this yelling outside the yard. Like I said, the Crown never brings this stuff up. They're not our lawyer. They cut all this shit out, right? So the officer did say this in court, though. They did document it. He was in court, and he told them his story. And his story is he heard yelling across the street, didn't know what it was, just thought it was an argument, right? And all of a sudden he sees the dog come out, then he hears, get the fuck off of me. And then he sees Montana come out and his dog come out. So Any lawyer or anybody with common fucking sense would take those details stating that Samaya corroborated that she pulled him off of my son. She didn't want him to hurt him anymore. And he told Samaya, get the fuck off me, and walked out. Because my son couldn't talk, right? That's already, he couldn't talk. The blood loss, that guy, he couldn't talk anymore. He was dying immediately. He died on site, you know. He didn't die in the hospital. He died there, right? And so this is so important, this part, right? Because this is the part that the judge says that he felt remorse. This part right here. So Montana turns around. This is a little bit of Montana's part now. When Samaya pulls him off of Sammy, they stating that Montana said, "I'm sorry." Right? The judge is taking that, "I'm sorry," that he's sorry that he killed my son. He murdered him. Right? That's what all the other details with an off-duty officer hearing, "Get the fuck off of me," and Samaya was on top of his brother, pulling him off. That's obviously what he was talking to his sister, and then he turned around and said sorry for that, for yelling at her, "Get the fuck off me." Not about, he didn't say, "I'm sorry for Sam's death, I didn't mean to do that, blah, blah, blah." He didn't help out, he didn't stay there, none of that. So the judge twists that, right? He twists that a little bit. Right?
It blows my mind. And the Crown says the evidence given by Lewis can't be trusted.
Right.
I mean, didn't the judge hear that? And he had no specific knowledge of any abuse that Sammy did to Samaya. There was no evidence. It's all speculation and hearsay.
None. So that's what happens on that part, right? Yeah. So I just wanted to go back on that part because that's a key part where the judge says that he felt remorse. So anyways, Montana walks out. Supposedly, well, he did call 911, but he just gave, I think he gave an address. That was it. There's no other details he gave, nothing. But Samaya was already on the phone with 911. She gave all the details of what was going on. You hear his voice on the 911 call saying whatever the I forget what the address is. He says the address, blah, 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 and hangs the phone up. You know, not remorseful, nothing there. There's no signs of any of that, right? So Samaya's freaking out. She's calling 911. She's giving him CPR at the same time. He's bleeding out, you know. And Montana, what is he doing? He's in the fucking front yard texting people, right? "I just killed Sam. You know, I'm going away for a long time." That's where his mindset is, you know, right away. So there's no remorse there. The officers come on site. No remorse from Montana. Nothing. No reaction. Nothing. There's nothing that states that. The officers, if anything, state that he had no reaction. He was just okay with whatever was happening. Samaya's freaking out, right? Absolutely freaking out. And she's trying to tell her story to the officer that was there. Her mind was just going over the details. He came out and stabbed him. He came out and stabbed him. Montana did it. You know, she was just saying a bunch of words, right? Which end up being true. So they arrest Montana and they bring him to the police station. They have a Samaya in custody, whatever, you know. Ambulance is there. They're trying to figure everything out at this point. The blood was overwhelming. The blood out of my son was absolutely drained his blood. It drained everything. I don't know what to say. There's puddles everywhere. There were splashes up on the walls, on his house wall, on the garbage pail, and on the neighbor's house. There was a splash of blood there. They showed on there. So my son goes up to the hospital. Samaya's at the hospital too, I guess. And then Montana is taken into custody at that point. So we have other stories here now at this point. You heard the story from Samaya, what happened. That's her truth, right? Samaya was really strong. She did what she had to. She told her story. She told as much truth as she can without getting pressure from her family, you know. And we thank her for that because a lot of the truth came out from her. And we thank her for that. And we were really super close to Samaya the whole time for a few years, and then we started separating a little bit. not in a bad way, just she kind of had to go on with her life. But yeah, so that's Samaya's story. That's what happened that night, and that's mainly what the judge took in consideration was her story. Stated that was the truth, and that's the truth that they took. The thing that's confusing, like I said, though, is that the judge states takes some parts from Samaya or from Montana and agrees with it. So we were really confused on that because he's kind of like backpedaling. We're not taking Montana's testimony, but these key parts that I'm going to say are going to get him off on manslaughter. So that's her story. So I could tell you Montana's story. I could tell you a couple stories of Montana if you like. If you want me to say that today.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
We have time. Yeah, we have time.
I'll give you Montana's version of what happened. So Montana did say they were arguing. Well, first of all, Montana made this story up that he got into an ATV accident a couple weeks before. And he explained to the ATV accident to the judge and to the Crown and everybody, all of us there. So he's up on the stand now. This is his story. And this is where they start because they're saying that because he was hurt. And so, yeah, he got to this ATV accident and he's telling everybody in court that him and his buddy were drinking and driving and that they were on this ATV a couple weeks before, 10 days, whatever it was. I'm not sure exactly the date, and they got into an accident with this four-wheeler or three-wheeler, whatever it was. And he said all the tires popped off it. The impact was so bad, all the tires popped off it. I'm an ATV guy. I've owned motorbikes my whole life and ATVs, side-by-sides. And I've seen everything, and I've never, ever seen the worst accidents where all four tires pop off a bike. I couldn't believe he said that in court. I couldn't believe that nobody tried to attack that. They just let it go. It felt like all stupidity and a joke. And he said those words about this ATV accident. And then he says that they walked to their buddies after that, and he hung out there for a little while. Probably a couple more drinks there. And he was way back in the bush. He said they were way back in the bush, and he hung out there for a while. And then he went home. And then his mom brought him to the hospital and get him checked out. There's no hospital records. The defense couldn't get hospital records to corroborate what Montana was saying, that he was concussed and he had bruised ribs or cracked ribs or whatever the fuck lie he was saying. All we know is that day of my son's murder, Montana himself stated that he was doing yard work and he was on the phone with his girlfriend, I think, or his ex-girlfriend. And he was saying, she's like, what are you doing today? He goes, just getting some gains. Just getting some gains means that you're working out. You're just pumping it up a little bit. That's what it means. So he kind of just like telling everybody, basically he's healthy and he's capable of anything. He's capable of fighting. He said he was moving boxes downstairs. He's working. He was doing yard work. And that's where he said he had his knife that he was opening up boxes. That's the only type the knife was mentioned, was that he was opening up boxes with it. That's the only information we have of that. So he wanted to give that information into his testimony, as he was saying that he was not feeling well. And on that day, he does tell the court system that he was drinking wine out of a bottle, not a wine bottle, some type of mug or canister of some kind. He was drinking all day, he said, and he was doing coke all day. He was doing lines all day. Samaya says she heard stuff about her brother doing cocaine a bit, but she couldn't say, how bad it was. But they kept on saying, and the defense kept on saying, is how close Samaya and Montana were, because they're twins. They're so super close and so tight knit, and they're twins, right? They just feel and know each other's feelings, and but yet Montana or Samaya never said once about a cocaine problem or drinking wine in the day, or she was with him all day that day. She was with him all day. No indication of him being intoxicated or hyper or nothing. So that takes that all out of the picture. Lies again, right? I didn't know that you could lie in the court of law, get caught with the lies, and there's no accountability. There's nothing on that. There's nothing. They don't get charged for that. Nothing when they find that they are lying. I didn't know that, Paul. Did you?
Well, you remember Justin Trudeau? He didn't say anything offensive to the Canadian people.
Sure, for
He
sure.
said
They
that
could all
before.
do that now. They're all protected, right? They're all protected.
Yeah, they are.
So, so he's saying all this shit. We're basically laughing, not laughing out loud, but smirking, saying, "What the fuck is he talking about? Like, what a piece of shit! What a fucking shitty fucking deal! This is 5 years later, and we're coming out hearing this bullshit."
Yeah.
And so he's talking about that, and then he says that. So him and Sam do start arguing because of the argument that him and Samaya started. And Montana himself does say a few times that Sam was sticking up for Samaya. So Montana himself states that.
Mm-hmm.
So he kind of contradicts himself. So he states that Sammy is sticking up for Samaya. And his story was that him and Sam were on the stairs and Sam pushed him. But Sam was below him. And, Montana would have the upper hand. And he said Sam pushed him there. But there's no indication of that. Samaya was right there at the end of the stairs. She didn't see any of that. It's almost like he's just trying to create a story, right? And they threw that all out anyways, but I just wanted to tell you his side.
Yeah.
That he pushed him. And one of his other buddies that was a witness said that Sam threw Montana down the stairs. And he said that at the pre-trial, and he said that at the trial too, even though Montana himself didn't say that at all. So the witnesses are lying, and they're getting the stories mixed up with each other. And you see that clearly. They look uncomfortable on the stand because they just don't know what to say anymore if they're stepping on, but the crown of that, they didn't do nothing with that. They didn't do nothing with the lies. They didn't do nothing. They didn't take the notes on that. They didn't test that out. They didn't do nothing because why? They're not our lawyer. They're not representing my family. That's why. Right?
Yeah, but like Samaya knew her brother, so she should have known to get out of that situation. That because she knew his temper, and she would have wanted to protect Sammy from him. You know what I mean? Like she has a role in this, even though she didn't do anything really. She could have prevented it.
I'm gonna get there. Like I said on part one, I do tell you that, and I know, Paul, I know you're not going to remember all my details. I'm telling you, I get that. It's a lot, but I know them like the back of my hand. Yeah. That's all I lived for the last 5.5 years was these details. And Samaya told us I should have seen the signs, right? She told us right there in center. That never left my mind. I reassured her that it wasn't her fault. She had nothing to do with it. It was your brother. Don't worry about that. Hugging her, embracing her, crying with her. But those words never left my mind. That she said that, so she knew more, right?
Of course
she knew
she did.
So she knew her brother.
Whole life.
We're going to say once again, they're twins. The defense kept on saying they're so knit tight. They know everything about each other, right? Everything, right?
And we're the parents in all this.
The mother's at work. The father is not part of their family. Like they separated a long time ago because of issues. Because of issues, because of relationship issues, right? So he did leave sometime. I think it was like 10 years ago. Like he left when they were younger, or 8 years, something like that. I'm not 100%, but he did leave a long time ago because of his own addiction issues and drug and alcohol abuse, right? So he did leave though, mother. But anyway, she was at work, right? And she wasn't really responding to any of the messages anyways. Almost like this is a normal thing for her, right? Getting these kind of messages, I guess. But anyways, so so Sammy and them are like Montana says that Sam pushed him, and then they left. That's what Montana says. Then they left the house. And Montana, they didn't talk too much about the text messages there. At one point, the text messages that were going back and forth, Montana says in open court, he says in open court that he goes, his buddy was coming over to help handle Sam. He turns to the judge. He says, "Oh, I guess I shouldn't have said that." Guess what happened? Nothing. Judge didn't point it out. Crown didn't. Nothing. He says it in open court. So that's once again putting some premeditation to something that we didn't know. You know, I heard there was people on their way there, but like I said, it happened really quick. But I heard there's people on the way there, Montana's friends, not Sammy's, Montana's friends. So I don't know what Montana was up to. You know what I mean? He would have died anyways, regardless, because whatever they're planning, or he was getting his friends to help him with, was not a good thing, right?
Yeah. And you don't have to go to law school for 10 years to realize these things.
Absolutely not. You do not have to know. I mean, when you start digging into the laws, you see how much lies are in the laws, right?
Yeah.
And you see how much why the Crown and all them saying, "Oh, you won't understand it. You won't understand it," because they're scared to understand it, and they're scared to apply common sense to their fucking laws because their laws don't make sense. And the Crown and the judges, whatever, they don't even understand the fucking laws. They don't even get it because they don't want to change it. So they just bypass it, memorize it, and then they apply it, right? They don't want to challenge it, right? So you see that, you realize that, right?
Oh yeah.
You realize how actually smart you really are as a person by questioning every single thing. You feel in a way that you're more advanced than the people that went to school for 10 years. Yep. You're like, what? Every time.
I feel that way about medical officers, doctors.
Yeah. Right, all of them, right? And I'm not advanced. I'm not. I'm just a fucking blue-collar guy, man. You know what I mean? Whatever. I struggled through school my whole life. You know what I mean? I'm not like that. But common sense, man, is a huge tool, and it is a truth. It's truth, right?
Yeah.
So anyway,
and we want to reach out to people who want to make impact statements.
Yes.
Because we're talking about less than 2 weeks now. June 11th is the final.
June 11th and 12th. Yes. Yeah. Any impact statements from anybody, even if they just know the story and they feel the story and they want to write an impact statement, that would be fantastic. You know, I invite you, Paul, yourself, if you want. You're an empath, so you can feel that emotion. You have that emotion from your own children, so it brings back some memories from when you lost your kids and that feeling of that, right? Like I always say, it doesn't matter the age, right, of a child. Is just horrible to feel in your heart, that detachment from that, as a man and a woman. And I know people always say the woman feels more, the woman this, but you know, Paul, yourself, you're an empath. You know that you are equally as hurt as a woman. You have a different connection than a lot of other men out there. Maybe there is a lot of empaths in men. They don't understand how to come out with it or tell people, right? You know,
I'm hurt from other people's pain. So it's even worse. But I left a link in all the sites, YouTube, Facebook, for Sammy's Backpacks. If you want to make an impact statement, there's the contact information, everything there that you need. You know, I think, out of this tragedy, something beautiful came of it, and that is Sammy's Backpacks. And Sammy would be proud of you for taking something and making, turning it into something beautiful. And I just wanted to say that as well. But the link's there, so if anybody wants to make an impact statement, please click on the link and read through it and participate, be a part of it. Something beautiful.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for that, Paul. Sammy's Backpacks is my son. That's what he would have done. He would have helped people in life. That's where he was going towards, right? We just feel that, this Sammy's Backpack was my wife's idea. She had seen it and it crossed her mind, and she brought it to me. Because, like I said, we were lost, and you look for stuff, and you don't know what's gonna help you understand everything. But we know that we are always about helping children. My son was going to help young men and young children. That's what his profession was. He had the heart on it. You've seen it on the football fields. You know, he was 8 years old starting football. The first things that he would do is you'd see him help the other team off the field. And that continued through his life until he was 19 years old. You know, that's who he was. That's the truth. That's who we are. Those are the people that we are, right? Is to help, you know, at all costs, help somebody, just help them. And my son is about Sammy's backpack. It's his story, right? It's a story going to be in a positive way to spread his wings to other children and see the truth in life and see we could be happier. We could be more involved, but happier, you know, with everything that we do in today's world. Anyways, I'm going to go back to Montana Lewis' story. We've got time so, Paul?
Absolutely.
So going back to Montana Lewis' story. So Sammy leaves, They're going to the vape store. Montana said that stuff about his friends' text messages. That's the one key thing I remember about that part, and how shocked we were to hear that. So anyways, they come back, and Montana's story is that so he comes back. He says they start fighting. They're arguing, and then so Montana's got two stories here, and I'm going to have to branch off to this, and you got to just, you know, try to understand this with me. It's not hard to understand, but just kind of bear with me. So at this point, right, they finish fighting. So Montana's on the stairs. Sammy's standing not above him, but kind of in front of him-ish, right? And we're going to keep repeating this. All this whole incident, I don't know, 30 seconds, a minute, right? And then then what happens is, I'm going to take you to when he got arrested in the police station, and his story that night, right after this happened, is what he said to the officers. First of all, they said they ended up getting enough information to charge him for first degree. That's when they told Montana that. And this is recorded. We've seen the recordings on this. So that's going to be a record for anybody. They see Montana sitting there on his chair. He's like this on his chair, just leaning back on it. And they tell him he's going to be charged with first degree murder. And he says, "What, really?" He goes, "I thought it would be manslaughter." So what? Like, that's crazy, right? Somebody that just accidentally did something, and they do find it's first degree, and he automatically knows right there that, oh, I thought it was manslaughter. Red flags all over the place on that. So that's what his testimony was that night. And he also states that he stabbed Sammy on the stairs, was his testimony to the officers. So that's the first time we ever heard of a first stabbing. But mind you, I don't know what his story is trying to make out here, because I'm going to tell you the rest right now coming up is fabricated like crazy. But we never knew when the first stabbing was, but he does indicate that he stabbed him on the stairs. And there is droplets of blood inside the house from my son. And I'm not sure about the stabbing on the arm, because even on the stairs, it makes sense that his arm got stabbed too, and outside. So they both make sense. But he says he stabs him in the arm, and then him and Sam are then wrestling, fighting, and they go out the front door, and they're wrestling around the front door. And I guess that's when he's saying he stabbed him again. And yeah, so that part there, that's what he's stating to the officer at that moment, right? So that's all fabricated 100%. We're not sure about the stairs, but we're assuming the stairs are fabricated too, because in court, he says that's not true now. Now he says none of that was true, what he said to the judge, or said to the officers that night. It's all a lie. That's not true. I lied about that. Once again, no repercussion, no nothing. And A lot of that is a lie. We don't know which parts are true or not, but he didn't go out the front door. There was no blood evidence on the front door. The blood was all out the side door. We already know that. Samaya made us establish that by her comments of where the stabbing happened. And Samaya herself does not know when the second stabbing was, whatever one it was. We just think they're both on the side, both by the side door. He stabbed them harsh but quickly and fell. So anyways, that's fabricated when he runs outside the front door with Sammy fighting. He says that's all a lie. But it was shocking because it was the first time we heard anything about the first stabbing on the stairs, which once again, if you're playing in your mind, it makes sense because Sammy did have droplets of blood inside. And they said Sammy didn't have much damage from the fight on him, so we don't know what that's about. So that's one part. Then when he was testifying in court, he states that no, it was similar to what Samaya said, but he said that Sammy had pushed him down the stairs, which Samaya says she didn't see that happening at all. But the rest of the story is similar to what Samaya stated. That's what Montana's taken that story and running with that as well. And they're outside, and then all that same information happened. He ran outside. He tells the court that he had the knife open, running to the side door. He said, was the knife open when you're coming outside the front door? He said, yes, it was open. And they kept on going back to the knife inside. He goes, but was it open inside too? Did you have it open there too? And he's like, he seemed like unsure of it because he was probably didn't want to see if he'd got himself in more shit. But it was open, like, you know, and like he didn't just run to the side door and not open a knife and then open it while he's going outside. He was there to stab him either way, right? So that's what he says to them, lets them know. So he goes outside, he stabs my son. And listen, guys, like I get emotional sometimes, but sometimes I'm a little bit stronger. So you got to understand, this is 5.5 years of me and my wife staying in bed weeks on end, bawling our eyes out. Even to this day, we have these days that we just cry. We just know how to hide it sometimes a little better, but that sadness is always there in our hearts, in our body, and those tears are always right there. I want you to really understand that. That does not go away for us. Anyways, Montana comes outside, stabs him. Montana's explaining it to him. He's showing him the motion over and over, what motion he did, you know. And he's saying that Sammy's kicking him away with his feet. And that's why he's kind of defending himself and stabbed him. It was just a horrible mess what he was trying to explain. But Samaya clearly stated that Sammy had his arm up, he had his leg up in the air on the side, seen that Montana had that knife, or Sammy might have even already knew he had that knife, and he put that both sides up, and then it didn't do too much to help him. So Montana anyway said he stabs him. He says, I dropped the knife. Once again, the judge takes that as okay, that he did drop the knife, that he's showing that, oh yeah, I didn't want to hurt him anymore. All bullshit, right? All lies, all like crazy lies. So he states that he drops the knife and that he's a nice guy, and he tells Samaya to flip my son over because he stabbed him. And then he says, and I'm such a nice guy. Like, he doesn't say the words, but this is what it's getting out to be, right? He's also a nice guy and feels remorseful. He calls 911, you know, and we heard the conversation, and he goes, listen, you can hear me in the background talking. You can't hear nothing. No words, nothing. All he did was on 911 said, come to blah, blah, blah address, and just drop the call. That's it. That's all he did. That was all he did the whole time that happened. There was no emotion there. He didn't show any kind of feel like he's sorry or anything on nothing that he's done. There's none of that. He was a cold-blooded killer who planned to do this at some point in his fucking life, and it happened to me, my son, and he just did it. And he had a hate on for my kid from the beginning of time, and he finally seen an opportunity to do that. And that's why his words were so impactful, saying today's his day. He's dead, right? Taking my son's life. And my son, I'm telling you, this is the story. So my son intervened into a family that my son didn't know what the fuck was going on with his family. He didn't know this life. He didn't know the abuse life. He didn't know the drug abuse life. He didn't know that. We're not like that. We're caring. We brought them up loving. Always make sure they got enough. Always make sure they worked, right? We always make sure our kids worked, contributed, right? And he came into this wide open with no knowledge of what the impact was going to be at the end of his life. And he intervened in somebody else's life that was completely different, with a lot of secrets and a lot of pain and a lot of hurt. And when you look at it, he's the one that paid the price for all of that family, all those members that know what's happened in that life and their family, all of them. And then you
Mhm.
see them over time all turning on my son. One by one turned on my boy and didn't stand up for the truth at all, not one time. But they sure think that they're indigenous and they have the feather there in the court representing their faith. And like, that's doesn't none of that makes sense to me.
There's no
That's
faith
all.
in there's no faith in
Oh,
murder. That's
no,
not faith.
no,
Thou
there's no
shalt
minute.
not kill is pretty universal, no matter your faith.
It's probably one of the most truest things in the book,
Yeah.
right? Just never do that. You never do that. If you're
Hmm.
defending yourself, there's different things, obviously, right? But if somebody's trying to kill you, well, you got to do something back. But you don't just kill somebody over
Yeah.
selfishness, greed,
Even
or
in indigenous practice, we pray and ask permission from the animal before we kill them. And if they're
exactly.
gone, then they haven't given permission.
There's
It's
actually a
very
lot of culture do
respectful.
that. Yes,
Yeah.
and I agree with that side of the culture. I actually agree with a lot of the indigenous because like I always told you, I'm not a religious person at all. I'm spiritual, right, to
Yeah.
the Creator. I have that
Yeah.
direct connection I feel to life,
Hmm.
and but the indigenous are probably one of the closer ways that you feel in their spirit world and how they talk about that. And they have embraced us. They did embrace us. They did embrace us. The
Yeah.
indigenous people did embrace us, not the Catholics, not anyone else.
Yep.
They embraced us. They
And
went
I'm
to us.
Micmac, and
Yeah,
I don't see any
yes.
separation. It's content of your character, and that's all it is. It's
You
we're
know what?
all
But
brothers and sisters to me.
yes, because you know why, Paul? Because a lot of shit happened to a lot of people in the past, but
Hmm.
there's a lot of people that fought to not make that happen anymore. Like people don't talk about that. They don't talk about the white man and how they helped to abolish some of these things. They think it's
Hmm.
our leaders, but it's the people that diminish that. They don't get any recognition, and we don't want recognition. We just want a
No,
better way, right? We want a
no.
better way. We want that equality, if that's the word they got. They want the equality,
Yep.
but now
And
they're going the other way. Now
and
they're
I'll
going the
say
other way.
one thing about the white settlers is they create beautiful cities and
Yeah,
standards of living, and
yeah.
everywhere all across Europe you see it's just beautiful. It's peaceful. It's there are bad people in every culture,
Sure. A lot
um,
of people.
but the people that their government is bringing in come from,
Yeah,
shithole countries that they turned into shithole. They didn't
yeah,
improve their own country. They're not going to improve this country. And, they're getting $82,000 a year while someone with a job gets like 56,000. So
yeah,
they're getting more than, the least of us. So we're being
yeah.
betrayed on all levels. And I would like to come back though after the trial, June 11th, and talk about what happened.
Right.
And
Yeah,
I'll be hoping for the best, of course. But
yeah, yeah.
then we can update everyone and tell everyone who doesn't have the opportunity to be in Saint Sault Ste. Marie and to
Mhm.
to hear what happened. I wouldn't believe the news anyway.
Yes.
I
Right.
would
But
trust more like
Sue
from
today
your
has been
mouth
very
than
good
my
with
mouth
us.
instead of the
Yeah.
news.
Yes. Sue
Um,
today has been really good partner with us.
that's
Most of
good.
the stuff they said is kind of right on. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Like they've been a big help. So I do give a thank you out to Sue today for sure on that.
Yeah.
They're trying to make it as pure as they can.
Yeah, and I would
You know,
like to thank Bridget, for coming up with Sammy's backpack. I think it's such
wife,
a
yeah,
beautiful mission,
it
and
is.
after the court date, I also want to talk about the June 19th and 20th event that you're having.
Yeah,
the annual second annual barbecue and car wash.
barbecue car wash there on 498 Black Road.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's going to be a big event. Like I said, the program is expanding, so we're anticipating a lot of people going to be there. It's a fun
Hmm.
time. Come talk to us. It's nice conversations, and we're going to have face paintings there too, and we're going to have a coloring table for the kids and stuff like that. So we're adding a few things in there this year.
Excellent. So I do I hope you will come back and
Yes.
afterwards we'll book it. I don't know when we're going to book it, but probably like right after, in
Yeah.
between the court ending and the barbecue, so
Yes.
we can refresh everyone on the barbecue so they can get as many of their friends to show up. Also, with the backpack
Mhm.
website, I would recommend everyone go there, and because I think it's such a beautiful cause, for kids that don't have that are also have families suffering under this
Yeah.
whatever kind of government you want to call it.
Yes, we want to want volunteers to come in involved,
Hmm.
right? Because the more volunteers, the more ideas we got, the more we can spread out to give work to other people to have not work, but if they want to spread out the Sammy's backpack, we're
Yeah,
looking something bigger. We're there for our children. If it's a
and
backpack
yeah,
or it's a speech that we need to talk to them about, or work or whatever, we want to change. We want to change our future together, right? We want it to be better and peaceful and happy and independent, but work in a team, but independency, right? We need that in our life.
and this is an example of really who we are as Canadians. This is
Yes,
us. This is the real Canadians, the real Canada, and
yes,
we don't have to let that go. And whenever we have things like this that are happening,
yep,
jump right into it. Anything that
yep,
that unifies our fellow man and our,
right,
our our ideals, just we need to just jump
yeah,
in
right.
and
You're right.
raise all our frequencies and
Right.
lift
Yeah,
each other up and show
lift
and
each
prove that we're united and that we're not divided. So that's
Yeah,
what I love about what Bridget did there. I think that's beautiful.
it
Thank
was a
you,
beautiful
Bridget. Yeah.
thing that for
And
sure.
thank you, Sammy, for it was hard for both of us, I think.
Yeah, well, for sure it is.
But
For sure it is. Yeah,
it had to be done. We had to do it.
yeah,
It's
we have to do it.
important.
Yeah.
It
Like I said,
matters.
there's lots of more details out there. There's the books
Hmm.
are going to come out. Hopefully the books are going to come out. I'm just trying to get somebody that I trust
Yeah.
with it and to really feel it.
Yep.
And it's not just a book; it's a life, and it's a story that a lot of people need to hear because we need to help all those other people that are in the same situation as that, right? And we want them
Exactly.
all to come together on that
Yep.
because we were alone, and I've seen that we're alone, but we are strong people. We are. That's who we are, and that's the only reason why we made it because we already had strong bonds before. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And then it crushed us, but we're here still, though, right? And we're here to help.
Yeah, and I would like to have you back when the book is finished, and we could talk about the book and
Yes, we're
let
gonna
people
have a
know
few.
how to get it.
Yeah.
And so, thank you so much for your time,
And
Sam.
Paul, just want to say one other thing quickly.
Sure.
Um,
Yes.
we did put in. There's all kinds of things going on in the background of the course case. We did put in for an appeal for the decision, and our Crown did finally approve that appeal, and it's gone to Toronto now. We're still
Hmm.
waiting on that. They have not gotten back to us. I keep sending emails for updates. They don't get back to me, but that's in place. We on Justice Kirk, we put in a complaint on him, two complaints on him,
Mm.
very deep about this, and they came back and they said there's some things that weren't quite right in my documentation. Not right, but I wasn't wording them right. This is
Hmm.
all new to me, right? I'm learning as I go too. I don't know these things, right? I don't know some of the laws. Anyways, I put the second complaint back in, hitting all the points that we've seen, what he did to us in the courtroom, and the side that he took was clearly on the defensive side.
Yeah.
And there's more than just a judge and a crown and a defense there. There's a lot more going on there that we can't come out and say what it is, but 100% we know what it is because we see the lies, we see the manipulation in front of our
Yeah.
eyes, and a lot of people to corroborate that.
Yeah, and you're talking about dropping down to manslaughter, right? And you have an
Yeah.
absolute right to complain about that. To
Yep.
me, it's
Yep.
very clear
Yeah.
misjustice by doing what they did.
For
Um,
sure. For
they're
sure.
showing compassion to the wrong people.
They are. They
you
definitely,
know.
definitely,
I don't believe in punitive punishment, but I do believe in, serving the time and giving appropriate time and working on his anger management while he's in there. So all the people that leave prison should be better people when they leave. We don't want to make them hate the government more and, recidivism, constantly, going in and out of jail for their whole life. We want to fix the problem and
totally.
yeah.
I see rehabilitation, but because of the circumstances and the way the murder
Hmm.
went out, that part I'm definitely, what I mean. The death sentence should be back imposed back in situations when you take a life. It's you take a life and it's your life too, and that'll second guess anybody that just wants to think about murdering somebody, and you'll see that crime level go down. That's just basic science and math.
Well, it's
That's
true.
what
It's true. I'm not for the death penalty myself, but I do believe life for a life.
and
I believe he should be in jail for life, and
yeah,
he should also be doing community work, building mini homes for the homeless, and doing something charitable for our fellow man while he's in there. You know what I
irrespective of you.
mean? But yeah,
Yeah,
I don't think he should come out. Any murderer
yeah,
should come out of jail. But they should definitely be put to work and treated mentally and spiritually. So I don't know if they're gonna get their forgiveness. But I know there's only one judge, but I don't
only,
think what that means we should let murderers out either.
no, but there's only one judge, and that is for sure.
There is one judge, and we have to, what we do to the least of us, we do to him, and we don't want to do that. So, but I do hope that you do get first degree murder back where it
Mhm.
belongs, and so you will be able to let us know on our next show.
Yeah,
I believe we're probably going to do two more shows.
yeah, at
Um,
least.
After the trial, and also to promote the barbecue and hopefully bring the community together
Yeah,
and because
that's
it's a beautiful thing, it really is. I love
that.
these things, and I love promoting them and um, letting everyone know about them, and by all
Yeah,
means share the links with
for
your
sure.
friends. And
Yeah,
if you live in Sault Ste. Marie, by all
yeah,
means, share the links with your friends and
hmm
make an impact statement if you want.
yeah.
Everything helps,
It does.
and
Yeah,
we're doing it for Sammy.
yeah.
As
All the
Sammy
salmon.
should, yeah, Sammy should still be here,
He
and
should still be. Yeah, that's true, Paul. We could probably say that he should still be here. That's the truth. That's the
yeah,
proud truth. Because my son was amazing.
yeah, and I know he's eternal, and he's in safe hands right now.
Yeah.
And one day, not soon enough, we'll see him again and celebrate our unconditional eternal love together. You with
Well,
your
Paul,
children, mine with mine.
I always think that he cried as much as we do when he left us, and he just,
Hmm.
I always think that in my mind. Like, if I'm hurt like this, I know he's in the spiritual world and it's a different world there, but
Yeah,
I still think that he
I
cried a
agree.
lot, and you know,
Yeah.
I think that all the time. But
Yes. Well, I am sorry for your loss, and I look forward to coming back and finding out what happened in the trial,
yeah,
and I thank you for your time today.
thank
Almost
you.
2 hours, and I mean, we probably could keep going, but
Oh
um,
yeah,
I know I
no,
know
we're good
that our
today.
audiences have been deliberately uh,
Yeah,
made into shorter attention spans. That's why
yeah.
they promote reels because they're
Oh
short
yeah,
and sweet. And
sweet. That's it.
but that's
Yeah,
all social engineering that's happening. And
yeah.
but thank you all for watching and sharing your thoughts and joining us today. And I look forward to seeing you again, Sam. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, man.
And I want to thank you all at home for joining us. And I look forward to having Sam back on the next show to talk about the outcome of the trial. And I will be back here on Wednesday with having that conversation. And thank you at home for joining me once again in season 3, episode 3, part 2, The Truth Table.